you know, I just want y'all to understand what's going on the spiritual side, because this is the spiritual war that we are in. Do not get caught up in this flesh at all. And I feel like if we can remember that we are spirits and souls, all right, in these physical avatars, then we will understand what's going on with Russia and Ukraine right now. All right. So with Russia and Ukraine, as you see, we have the hot sauce 19 was like the talk of the world, and then they still pushing that. They still pushing that, but they kind of taking the eyes off of that to throw you off. Because if you pay attention to the hot sauce 19, they actually have a new variant that they sliding out called BA.2 something. I had caught it and screenshotted it, but that I'll say that for a later lecture. But notice all of a sudden, overall, they stopped talking about this hot sauce 19. All right, kind of like I say, it kind of like took a second fiddle, and then they start rolling out all this propaganda, building up, like promoting this fight between Russia and Ukraine. Now, if you look at the way a boxing match is promoted, because it's all actors, it's all crisis actors, paid actors. The shit ain't real. All the politicians, none of them is real. I've been told y'all this, right? A long time ago. I stopped talking about that because I just felt like it's something people should understand already. What I'm about to say to you, you might agree with, you might not agree with, but I'm gonna keep it real over rich with you. I'm gonna give you the spiritual perspective of it. Okay, you have a few things going on with Russia versus Ukraine. You have the distraction point, the harness frequency. All right. Yeah, I'm gonna give y'all the intents, the reasons behind it. Okay. You have the frequency hijack. The hijack the frequency toward a negative vibration. All right. So once the frequency is hijacked, how do you hijack the frequency? You get everyone's attention. So this is why the media is powerful. They use the media to get everyone's attention. So let's look at attention. Another word for attention is energy. Remember, I taught you, I said whatever you give your attention to, you give your actual energy, your life force to. All right. So now we've never really went over the art of Nin, right? And then they got like a little anime show out about it. Like my daughter watch it, Hunter x Hunter, where they kind of talk about Nin a little bit, a lot in the cartoon, but it's an anime. It's set up like look not real, but Nin is a real thing. It's your aura, it's your frequency around you. It can be drained and it can be used as a weapon as well. All right, if you are aware of how to use your aura. Now the elites, the oppressors are aware of how to use your aura field. You are not. Most people are not. So to drain you of your life force, all they have to do is get your attention. So that's the first reason they're using the Russia versus Ukraine tactic. The second thing is, at the end of the day, the system is falling. It's in game. So you do have disagreements going on amongst these elites, like no different than how it be when a motherfucker losing a fight. You know what I'm saying? A motherfucker losing a fight. What happened? They start fighting with themselves, you know what I'm saying? They start blaming each other, right? It's like, you know what I'm saying? It's like when you playing a video game with your homie, y'all playing Call of Duty or something, and in Call of Duty, y'all losing. What y'all start doing? If you don't do it, your homie gonna start doing it. Y'all damn near start arguing with each other, right? Y'all start blaming each other, right? Y'all start blaming each other for the reason that y'all are losing the overall game. Okay, so that's what you're seeing with Russia and Ukraine. All right, too. It's the arguing amongst oneself. You know what I'm saying? Because we have celestials here that are working magic against them. All right. On top of that, it's really not even, it's Russia and Ukraine arguing and they getting into it amongst themselves. But the whole war of Russia versus Ukraine, that's not really transpiring like that. When you seeing them trying to fire these missiles and shit like that, that's all propaganda as well. You know what I'm saying? That's all staged and set up in the desert in the middle of nowhere. You hear me? Hollywood cameras. You feel me? Like they showing you them launching nuclear weapons and shit like that. None of that is transpiring in real lifetime. What's actually going on is it is a war taking place though, because you have a group of beings here, of elemental warriors here that live within the core of this planet, and they come from a completely different galaxy, but they have been working hand to hand with this planet since we created it. So you got these elemental beings, all right, that have been activated. All right, that's what all the earthquakes was about last year. All the earthquakes, and well, not just last year, the last 20 years, when you've been hearing all these earthquakes and things like that. A lot of the earthquakes is elemental warriors and celestial beings being unlocked and activated from deep within the core of the planet. All right, because there was electricity and things like that being used to keep them where they were at. Like they completely hijacked our entire planet. So when they showing you Russia versus Ukraine, that's a lot of the celestial beings warring against them. And then they showing you the disagreement that's going on between them amongst themselves when they saying Russia versus Ukraine. They not gonna put out the article and be like, hey, what's really going on is we over here having a spiritual warfare and we getting our ass kicked. So we have to stage this spiritual warfare as war amongst ourselves. And on top of that, we really are arguing amongst ourselves because we're losing this overall war. All right. That's what's going on with Russia versus Ukraine. And then if you notice, they're already giving you the propaganda to make America join in with the war. So they already got you set up for the 1-2 for America to join it. Even when they said from jump, when they was like, hey, when Biden was like, hey, if Russia does anything to Ukraine, then the U.S. gonna intervene. Remember that conversation, and then that conversation happened, and then Russia got in. Russia invaded Ukraine. We're going off what they showing you, right? Russia invaded Ukraine, all right? And then after Russia invaded Ukraine, all of a sudden, the U.S. said they ain't got nothing to do with that. People start making memes and talking shit about the U.S., right? There's people that's really caught up in the politics, in the real politics of believing what they seeing is real. So they caught up in the politics. They're like, oh, yeah, the U.S. ain't on shit. And then you're not paying attention to how at the same time the U.S. still allegedly is supplying weaponry to Ukraine. So that's them setting you up for the 1-2 of, okay, now America eventually intervenes. Like in every war, America has intervened, all right? And then America intervenes, and then now you see what's really going on, right? You're going to see it's all an illusion. All the politicians are clones and crisis actors, all right? All of this is to distract you from the fact that this shit is over with. The war that's taking place over there has nothing to do with a Russia versus Ukraine, where it's nuclear war going back and forth with each other. That's a spiritual war. That's a whole spiritual war. No different than in the Gullah War. It's how they told you that we didn't do what we did. How they told you in the Mexican American War that America was fighting the Mexicans. That's a fucking lie. They was fighting us, and every war they was fighting us. You get what I'm saying? Every war they was always fighting us. Even in the motherfucking Vietnamese war, in the Vietnam War rather, they was fighting us. So right now they have to put eyes on what's going on over there in what you want to call Europe. Let's just say Europe, because if you know anything about Ukraine, Ukraine is one of Europe's biggest countries. So that's a war in where, y'all? Europe. Now, you asked me the last time you seen niggas warring in Europe. Go back in history. When the last time you seen two countries in Europe warring? It's usually Europe warring against another motherfucker or coming together as one to go against another motherfucker. You see what I'm saying? Because it's a spiritual war taking place. You see what I'm saying? The Celestials is over there, right? So it's a spiritual war, celestial tax, right? A higher form of energy being used. They losing that war. So now since they've been losing this war against the Celestials, which are actually elemental beings, elemental warriors of the planet,